And this is how we have the atrocities, the injustices, the tyranny that's happening because of external influences beyond human. Hello, it's January 2024 and Happy New Year to everyone. Before I get into this video, which is going to be a little bit different than the topics I normally like to talk about, but it all does tie in. I just want to address something personal for those who are following me personally. So some people have commented that how healthy I look, which is good, and just wanted to address that. Since the life-saving surgery that I had in June of 2022, where I literally almost died, the doctors, the surgeons were surprised that I was even alive, and then almost died again a year ago this month. I've had some serious complications due to damage done by that medical condition. I've been taking various medications and trying different things since, and some of the side effects of that is water retention. So I have gained more weight than I would have wanted to, and that might explain maybe why I look healthy. And overall, I mean, aside from my digestive system, my liver, kidneys, and everything that was impacted, you know, I still try to get through the day, do normal things and stuff, and mobility is an issue, and etc. Plus old injuries from Alberta and so forth. So I've been dealing with that a lot, and that's been my priority lately. So I want to get that out of the way. Now this video, when I started doing videos 10-12 years ago, I talked about different topics, and some of the topics I did talk about were more woo-woo, or even as a descriptive spiritual. And actually I did quite a few videos about that, sharing some evidence of different woo-woo events and so forth. And over the years, even the past 10 years, I've done some videos about these kind of things. So this video is just going to be kind of a bit of a throwback to that. But why am I talking about this kind of stuff and linking it? How's it linked to the topics that I have been talking about, been focusing on? We live in strange times. Things are getting stranger. And reality is stranger than fiction, by far. And for a lot of people, especially atheist types and so forth, they don't want to even entertain anything that's not, we'll just say, mainstream kind of everyday life. But there are more and more strange things happening in the world with people, individuals, groups, and even, for example, in just trying to think of a descriptive, like nature, say. And these things are becoming more and more common, and people are talking about it more and more. And we've seen, for example, strange things happening on planes, people freaking out. What's behind all this kind of craziness? There is, as a descriptive, an evil in the world, and these things do play a role. A lot of people, for example, especially truther types and so forth, they talk about the elites and the ruling class and secret societies and everything else. And I'm not dismissing any of these things, but people have to understand that there is something behind all that, something on the very top controlling everything in this world. Now, I'm just going to segue for a moment here, because I'm going to be kind of talking about both woo-woo, spiritual, and earthly perspectives here. A lot of people, for example, when they question the Most High, well, why is there so much suffering and sorrow in this world? And for a lot of people, that turns people away from the Most High. Now, I've stated many, many times over many years that religions and belief systems have little to nothing to do with the Most High. Most High being God, our Creator. Now, right there, I'm sure some people are rolling their eyes, or whatever. But the suffering and everything that's happening in this world is the allowance by the Most High to let things play out. People say, well, why doesn't he stop it? Why doesn't he stop all this suffering and everything else? Well, he has at different points in humans' history since the creation of the human species. But he decided not to do that anymore. Let things play out. Doesn't mean that, for example, those imposing injustice, tyranny, atrocities, and crazy people, and whatever you want to call them, that they're not going to be giving answer to these things. But part of the game that's being played is to let it play out this time. And when it's all over, all these things, because the Most High can do anything, none of these things will have ever happened. And some people will be questioning, well, if the Most High knows how things are going to end up, why play it out? And the closest analogy that I can come to for an explanation is, for example, let's just use something very, very simple. In your mind, you want to make a loaf of bread. In your mind, you know the ingredients, you know how to put it all together, you put it in the oven, all the events are going to take place, and you know the final outcome. But until it actually physically becomes real, you actually physically make it, it's just a thought. And that's why the Most High knows from start to finish everything. But it's his thought. What we're experiencing here is reality. And that's not really the focus here. I'm going off on this little tangent. I just wanted to give this little explanation here because it ties into with all the wickedness and evil that's happening in the world. And we see throughout human history how tyranny and injustice has been imposed on many different people, not just today. We see an increase in this today. So behind all the tyranny and injustice and everything else, there's this woo-woo spiritual world happening. And accept it or not, the human species of creation are not on top of that's another descriptive, totem pole. The human species of creation are at the bottom, kind of as a descriptive, being caught in the middle of all this. The human species of creation, it's the first time here. And no, you don't turn into the angelics of creation. But anyway, these are all different topics, and I have talked about this in other videos. My point really is giving explanation to what's really going on in the world. I've highlighted through overlays, for example, how there's wars going on in the world today and what's really fueling it. For example, a leader being groomed to believe. To believe is to make an uninformed conclusion. That's the proper definition of it. That they would bring in the end times prophecies, and I've stated prophecies are not predictions of unforeseen futures, but prophecies are agendas that are laid out. And the common person, not everyone, but a lot of common people know about this. So do the elites. the ruling class, secret societies, and especially those, what would be a good descriptive, that are beyond human. And everyone's aware of these agendas, and they're playing out forcefully. The whole idea with religion and belief systems fueling wars and everything else, and end times and so forth, is all ties into with this woo-woo and spiritual things going on. I was going to backtrack for a moment real quick. And we talk about these people who freak out on planes, and there's more and more of these. What's really going on? Some people said, even witnesses were on these planes saying these people look possessed. And when the people we see freaking out are saying that they're not human and all sorts of stuff. And the easiest default is to say, oh, they're crazy, they snap, they're drunk, and just kind of dismiss it. Well, if you're one of those type of people, then hey, it is what it is. It's on you. But there are things going on now, more and more, that's, I'm going to use a descriptive, beyond human. And these things are very real. Now, I just want to segue again for a quick moment. My relationship with the Most High is not based on the writings or teachings of others, meaning any written words, any interpretations of those words, religions or belief systems. And I've shared my death experiences, my near-death experiences, my avoiding death, and other experiences throughout my whole life. And in fact, how I opened up this video by talking about I should have died again in June of 2022, and I came very close again a year ago this month. And these are the foundations. So the first time that I had my death experiences when I came into this world as a baby, surviving abortion. I was born dead apparently for 45 minutes. It took them that long to, doctors and everyone, to resuscitate me. Now, whether it was the doctors or something spiritual or even woo-woo, that's not the point. My point by stating this is this was before I had any influence of religions, belief systems, pseudosciences. And then the next two times I died by drowning was 5 and 12 years old. 5 years old, I had minimal exposure to, say for example, Christianity. 12 years old, I had more exposure, but not that much. But, well, I'm going to just leave it at that for now. No exposure to minimal exposure to anything external. So this is my foundation with the Most High and the woo-woo in the world and spiritual stuff. And there's a few videos where I go a little bit more in depth in that, and that's why I'm not going to reiterate. This video is going to be 5 hours long. But we see injustices, and we wonder, how can people do bad things? Say, for example, and I'm just using this as an example, I'm not picking on, for example, police officers, but who's to say that during an interaction, when an officer decides to escalate things and commit atrocities, and this is not all, but when it does happen, who's to say that there's not something as using a common descriptive, that this person wasn't influenced, possessed by something beyond human. And it's not just them. I mean, this applies to any profession, doctors, educators, perhaps people in politics. Until people accept that there's something beyond human happening in the world, things may kind of not have any answers. And this is how we have the atrocities, the injustices, the tyranny that's happening because of external influences beyond human. And it's a big pill to swallow, but it's real. And atheists especially are not going to accept that, because according to them, we come from the Big Bang and, you know, evolution nonsense, where, you know, I've even highlighted in videos where Darwin himself said this theory of evolution is completely flawed, and many people after him. But it's interesting how people get stuck on an idea, and then they might kind of realize, hey, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense, and they'll start making stuff up and incorporating everything and putting everything to a big melting pot and saying, now this makes sense to me. And they might find someone else that is similar to them and say, what you're saying resonates, and then you have little groups forming, and then another tangent's created. But I really want people to start thinking about these external influences beyond human. And that's really my point here. Because if someone could be influenced, whether it be psychologically or as, again, a common descriptive, some sort of possession, and I've explained 10 years ago that possession is really a projection that some of these others can do. And anyway, I don't want to go off on that tangent in this video. But just really think about it, because a lot of the things that are happening they're absurd. They're beyond, it's not even logical, but yet things are happening because of the woo-woo and the spiritual side of life that a lot of people want to ignore. And setting aside being influenced directly in individual or even groups, just the fact that there's these, using the descriptive prophecies, and people buying into them, and then you have the doomsdayer types who just suck it all up and doom and gloom type, and it's all playing out. So no matter how you want to look at it, there is an external influence, whether you want to accept it as real or not. It's happening, and that is what we're seeing in today's world. And we see in today's world how, for example, everything good and normal has been vilified, and everything that's bad and not normal being praised, elevated. And we see very small groups with, as an example, fetishes dominating everything. And a lot of people are wondering, how is this? Well, perhaps if you take the time to think about it and even accept part of what I'm saying with these external influences beyond human, you'll get your answer. And why is this important? Because it also ties into with what I've been saying for years, and even the past 3 years, to survive. If you don't know what's going on, how are you going to survive it? Anyway, I just really want to give you some things to think about. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share.
Not true, they know it's not true. It doesn't matter what's true.
Listen to this and write it down if you can't remember it. You're never going to outgrow warfare. You simply must learn to fight. I hear people saying to me, oh, when is it going to get easier? When you die.